So Rabbi say it's Parshas Balak. So the pasuk says, "Vayiftach Hashem es pi ha'osain." Yeah, the Hashem gave the she donkey a power of speech. Vatoymer leBilam, and the donkey says to Bilam, "Me osisi lecha? What did I do to you? Ki hi kisoni zeh sholosh rigolim, that you hit me three times." That's the Pashut Pshat. But Rashi says, "Zeh sholosh rigolim ato mevakesh lakor umo." You want to uproot a nation, hachligeges sholosh rigolim bashana, a nation that celebrates three rigolim bashana. Now, I mean, this is kind of interesting because we have many mitzvahs. We have 613 mitzvahs, 248 mitzvahs asay, and there are those that are noig every day and in every place. And so, why is the Osain emphasizing, in particular, the fact that he's coming to uproot a nation that celebrates three regolim bashana? This would imply that there's something special about the Gimel Regolim Bashana that somehow makes it impossible for Bilam to uproot our nation. So what is this about? You know, the pasuk says, "Vayokom Bilam baboiker, vayachbosh es asoinoi, vayelech im sorei moyov." So he saddled his osoin and he went with the sorei moyov. Rashi says, "Vayachbosh es asoinoi." Mikan shasin'o mikalkeles es ashura. In other words, the hatred causes breaking the rules of standard conduct and behavior, right? Because shechovash hu ba'atzmo, he himself saddled the osoin, which is unusual. He had the Meshorsim to do it. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, "Rosha kvar kodomcho Avraham aviem." Avram, their father, preceded you. Shenemar vayashkem Avram baboiker vayachvoish es chamoiroi. The pasuk says in Parshas Vayera by the Akedah, vayashkem Avram baboiker vayachvoish es chamoiroi. On that pasuk in Parshas Vayera, Rashi says vayachvoish hu ba'atzmoi, he himself. V'lo tzivo la'echad me'avodo. Avram Avinu didn't ask one of his servants to saddle the chamor. She'ahava mikalkeles es ashura, because the love causes the breaking of the rules of standard conduct. So Rashi is telling us that when Bilam saddled his osoin by himself in order to go and curse Klal Yisrael, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, Avram Avinu already did the same thing. He saddled his chamor in the Ma'aser HaAkedah all by himself. L'chora, we don't understand. It would seem from this that if not for the fact that Avram Avinu personally saddled his chamor, so Bilam would have something over us, and he would be able to curse us, and he would be able to succeed. It's only because Avram Avinu already did so that Bilam had nothing over us. So I ask you, I mean, Bilam, the fact that he saddled his osoin himself is a schos, it's a merit. As Rashi says, shahasino mikalkeles es ashura. So why do we need that Avram Avinu himself saddled his chamor, hava mikalkeles es ashura, in order to compete with Bilam? I mean, what Maila does Bilam have in being vayachvosh es asoinoi, that in order to overcome that, we need to have Avram Avinu vayachvosh es chamoiroi. Probably the pshat is that it's expected of us that our dedication to good should be no less than the dedication of Rishoim to evil. If Sinah is mikalkeles es ashura, and the Rasha breaks the rules of standard behavior in order to achieve his goal, so Avas Hashem ought to affect us no less. And if it doesn't do that, it's a kitrug. So that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Bilam that this kilkul shura that was displayed in his dedication to evil, Sina Mikalkel Sashura, actually was expressed in the Maisa Akeda in the positive. Ahava Mikalkel Sashura. Onu rotzim, v'heim rotzim. We run and they run. Onu rotzim l'chayei oilam, no less than the heim rotzim lebor shachas. Okay, Rashi says, Kvar kodomcha Avram Aviem, shenema vayashkem Avram baboike v'yachash eschamoyre. Now, I mean, we all know that Avram Avinu was many generations before Bilam. So what's the emphasis on Kvar kodomcha Avram? Is it only because Avram Avinu was before Bilam that we're worthy of being protected from his curses? If it wouldn't be before, would be any different? I want to suggest perhaps that, over here it says, Vayokom Bilam baboiker, Vayachvesh es asoinai. So he got up in the morning. But over there it says, Vayashkem, not Vayokom, but Vayashkem Avram baboiker, Vayachvesh es chamorim. On the word Vayashkem, Rashi says in Parshas Vayero, Nizdareis lemitzvah. As the Gemara in Pesachim Davdalad says that from here we learn the klal that's reason makdimin lemitzvahs. Mitzvahs have to be done with agility, with quickness. So the onu rotzim is actually even at a faster pace than the heim rotzim. And this chus of kvar kodomcha, we could teach kvar kodomcha Avram, that Avram didn't just do the vayachvoish es chamoiroi on his own, just like Bilam, but he actually was vayashkem, not just vayokom, so he's kodomcha. He did it even earlier. He did it in the noifin of zrizin magdimin, and that is what gives us the schus to be protected from Bilam. The Mishnah, in the first Mishnah, Masechtas Tainis, says, Me'emosai maskirin gevuros geshamim. From when do we begin to say Mashiv Aruach Omer Dageshem Rebelezoi Meyom Tov Rishon Shulchak? From the first day of Sukkot, Rabbi Yeshua Meyom Tov Achron Shulchak, that we begin to say Mashiv Aruach Omer Dageshem only on Shmini Atzeres. So the Ran over there, it's on page Aleph, Soif Amud Beis, in the pages of the Rif. For those of you that have the standard Vilna Shas, today they keep on printing new Shas, and so I can't tell you exactly where it is. But the Ran brings over there in the name of the Yerushalmi, My time de Rabbi Yeshua. What's the reason that Rabbi Yeshua says that we should only mention Geshomim on Shmini Atzeres? Kidei sheyetzu hamoyadois betal, in order that all the Yomim Tovim should fall out on days that we're mentioning Tal. Sha'atal simin yofel oil. So Rabbi Yeshua holds that we don't begin to be mazkir geshem until Shmini Atzeres, in order that all the three regolim, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, should be in days that we are mazkir Tal, do. Now, what's so special about Tal? And how does this connect with the meaning of the Gimel Regolim? Why is it so important that the three Regolim should fall out on days that we are Mazkir Tal? So, Tal represents freshness. There's a pasuk in Tehillim, Kuf Yud. It says, L'cho Tal Yaldusecha, which means that you retain the dew-like freshness of your youth. So Tal, in Lashon HaGemara, Dechirne kad havine talye. I remember when I was a young child. The Gemara calls a young boy a talye and a young girl a talyese. Talye v'talyese. So Tal is about beginning. It's about freshness. It's about newness. So Kedei Sheyetzu HaMoyadim Betal is because Moyadim, the inyan of the Moyadim is renewal. We begin to be Mazkir Tal on Pesach, which is Keneged Avram Avinu, as the Torah says in Siman Tov Yud Ches in Arachaim. And in Midrashei Chazal, they take a darshan the pasuk of Lecho Tal Yaldusecha to be referring to Avram Avinu, from whom we learn Zrizin Magdimin LeMitzvahs, Vayashkem Avram Baboiker. Yeah, approaching everything with newness, with freshness, with Zrizus. Pesach is the Rosh L'Regolim, as the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah Daf Dalet, I think, because all the Regolim are about a restart. All the Regolim are about renewal. All the Regolim are like Tal. So that the Umazu HaChoygeges Sholosh Regolim preserves the Zrizus and the Hischachos of Vayashkem Avram Baboiker. Not only that our Ava is Mekalkol Es Ashura, Vayachboish Es Chamoiroi, and we break with the standard Hisnagus, the standard behavior, and we go beyond in order to express our Ava to the Rebbeinu Shalom, but we also break the limits of time. And that's what the Osain is saying, that kisani zeh sholosh rigolim ata bo lakor uma hachoygeges sholosh rigolim. In other words, Klal Yisrael mikoyach levayashkem Avram baboiker v'yachvish es chamoiroi is protected from Bilam's clawless. But there's another point over here. You know that the sholosh rigolim are based on one hand on the seasons of the year, the agricultural year. Chag HaOviv, Chag HaKotzir, Chag HaOsif. On the other hand, they're connected with the great happenings in our history. I mean, the Nisim of Yetzias Mitzrayim, etc. Obviously, it's not a coincidence. Not only that it's self-understood that it's not a coincidence, but it's a mefurish pasuk in the Torah. The pasuk says in Parshas Re'eh, Tez Zayin Aleph, Shomor es chodesh ha'aviv v'asiso pesach la'Hashem Elokecha. From this pasuk Shomor, which we normally understand to mean observe, but the Gemara learns from here that in Rosh Hashanah Daf Chaf Aleph, Shomor aviv shel tkufa. That we should make sure, we should watch, we should make sure that the Aviv Shel Tkufa, that the spring should fall out in Chodesh Nisan. And therefore we do Ibur Hashana, we make a leap year in order to be Shamar as Chodesh HaAviv. So you see that it needs to be so that the celebration of the Nisim of Yetzias Mitzrayim should coincide with the agricultural season. Why is that? The Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Lamed Aleph says, on the Pasuk in Yeshaya, it's a very shver Pasuk in Yeshaya Lamed Gimel, Kapitel Vav, that says, V'hoyo emunas itecha choisen Yeshua is chochma vadas. I'm not going to translate, but it says, V'hoyo emunas itecha, which means literally the faith of your times, emunas itecha. So the Gemara breaks up this pasuk into 6 chalokim and says, emunas ze seder zroim. Emunas refers to the seder zroim in Shas. Itecha ze seder moed. Itecha is seder moed. We understand the ace is a time. Emunas ze seder zroim. Why in the world does faith have anything to do with Seder Zroim? So Tosfos brings the Yerushalmi, Shemamin b'chei ha'olamim v'zoyreya, that he believes in the source of all life, and he sows. Now, I mean, atheists are also zoyreya. You don't need faith in the Rebbeinu Shalom in order to be zoyreya. So the pshat obviously is that the real meaning of Amunah is, first of all, Ma'amin. And Ma'amin doesn't mean that you're not Zayreya. Ma'amin doesn't mean that because you're Ma'amin, you sit back and you wait for things to happen. You are Zayreya. But the Ravusa, the Chiddush, the real meaning of Amunah is that even when you're doing what everybody else is doing, it's imbued with emunah. In other words, you're Zayreya like everybody else is Zayreya, but you do it with emunah in the Chai Olamim v'Zayreya, and that's emunas itecha. There's a connection between the Mamin b'Chei Ha'Olamim v'Zayreya, Seder Zroim, to itecha, which is Seder Moyed. In the seasons of the agricultural seasons, we remember the nisim that were beyond the laws of nature, in order that we should make present the Rebbeinu Shalom even in the natural world. That we should recognize that through the Itecha, we remember the V'zacharto es Hashem Elokecha ki hu hanoisen lecha koyach lasois choyel. That when we're oiseh choyel, we remember that the source is the Rebbeinu Shalom, and we're mamin b'chei olamim v'zoyreya, and the moyadim, the itecha, give us that faith. And because when we celebrate together with the celebration of the agricultural seasons, we celebrate the nisim of beyond teva, of Yetzias Mitzrayim. We're bringing together the natural world with the supernatural world, right? So when we make an effort to make the Rebbeinu Shalom present in all our doings in the physical world, right? B'chol drochecha da'eu, we could merit divine providence, hashgacha, and divine protection. That's beyond the laws of nature. As the Rambam writes in the Moreh Nevuchim Chelik Gimel Perek Nun Aleph. Yeah, I'm just going to read you a few lines, but it's something that needs to be learned by Oimikayu. And the Rambam writes, V'hine nigla elai, was revealed to me, iyun nifla mo'od, yasuru by sveikos, it removes many doubts, v'yizgalu by soidos eloikiyos, this reveals divine secrets. V'hu, she'anachnu kvar bayarnu, b'pirkei ha'ashgoche, ki kefi shiur seichel, kol bal seichel, according to the measure of the seichel of every bal seichel, tiyeh ha'ashgocha boy. The hashgocha rests on him. V'ha'ish ha'sholem b'hasogosoi, somebody that has a complete comprehension, understanding in Eloikus, asher lo yosur sichloi me Hashem tamid, his mind is never removed from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Tiyeh ha'ashgocha boy tamid. The Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't remove his hashgacha from him at any point. Va'ish shleim ha'asoga, but somebody who has really the ganze hasoga. But asher tifne machshavtoi mi Hashem ktsasitim, sometimes he's not engaged in thinking about the Rebbeinu Shalom. Tiyeh ha'ashgacha boy be'eis choshvoi b'Hashem levat. The hashgacha in him will be only when he's thinking, when he's engaged in thoughts about the Rebbeinu Shalom. V'tosur ha'ashgacha mimenu, the hashgacha will be removed for him be'eis iska, when he's engaged in material affairs. But even then, it will not be removed from him kisura, as it's removed from somebody that never engages in dveikus in the Rebbeinu Shalom. Aval timat, but it will be less. Because he's not actively engaged in thinking the Rebbeinu Shalom. Anyway, he's marich. So the Rebbeinu Shalom is present in our lives, in as much as we make him present. That's what the Rambam is saying. You know, in Parshas Ki Sisa, it says, Ki oirish goyim mipanecha, v'irchavti es gvulecha, v'lo yachmoid ish es artsecha, ba'aloischa leirois es pnei Hashem Elokecha sholish pam bashar. So no man will covet your land when you go up to appear before Hashem 3 times a year. So we're talking about a miracle that repeated itself 3 times a year. The Gemara in Psachim, Daf Chesam and Beis, brings a brisa, the Tanya Isi ben Yehuda Oimer, Klape she'omra Torah v'lo yachmoid ishes ha'etzecha. Yeah, Melamed, shetehei paroscha roya ba'efer, ve'ein chayo mazikosa, Tarnegoiltecha min hakeres ba'ashpa, ve'ein chulda mazikosa. In other words, when you'll go to be Oila Regel, so nothing will, we're learning from the Pasuk, yeah, that your cow will graze in the meadow and no beast will harm it, right? Tarnegoltecha min hakeres ba'ashpa. Yeah, your rooster shall peck in the garbage dump and no chulda will harm it. I'm not sure how you translate chulda. Yeah. So in other words, your property will be protected. Yeah, while everyone ascends to Yerushalayim for the regel, despite that, your farm will not be protected. So this is what Isi Ben Yehuda is saying, that animals, it's their derech to be harmed, and they won't be harmed. Bnei Adam, she'ein darkam lizoik. People that it's not their derech to be harmed because they fend for themselves. Allah is kama v'chama that they won't be harmed. And from here we learn that shluchei mitzvah, somebody that's on the path to doing a mitzvah, einam nizoikim. As the Gemara says that it's only when they're going only for the purpose of mitzvah and they have no additional kavanah. If the guy is being baidik chametz, but he also has in mind a little needle that maybe fell into that crack, so he doesn't have this protection. But in any case, if somebody is totally focused on avodas Hashem, he has the protection of Eloi Yachmoid Ish Esartzecha Ba'aloisecha. So when Klal Yisrael were Oila Regel 3 times a year, it wasn't only that they made the Hashgoche present in all their material doings by celebrating the Oviv, the Kotzir, and the Osif together with the celebration of the open Nisim that they experienced at Yetzias Mitzrayim and in the Midbar, Lifnei Hashem. They also had the highest level of bitachon, to the point that they abandoned everything they worked for many months before, and they relied on the divine promise of V'lo yachmoid ish esartzecha, and the haftacha actually came true. And this is what the Osir is saying to Bilam, ki hikisani ze sholosh rigolim ata bo lakor Uma hachoigeges sholosh rigolim. In other words, this Uma is not governed by their general rules. It's Hashem Eloi Kov Imoy, Usruas Melech Boy, Hein Am Levodod Yishkoin, Ubagoyim Lo Yischashev, as Bilam later says. The continuity of the Jewish people is promised, and you don't have a chance to stand in their way. I just want to share with you something that I reminded myself, because this past Shabbos was the yard site of the Kloisenberger Rebbe, Zechron Levracha, on Tes Tammuz. And I was reminded of something that he once shared, that in 1944, when the Germans already entered Hungary, so he had a doctor that used to visit him from time to time, a guy, but he wasn't known to be a Sinai Yisrael. He was a decent guy. And during the checkup, he asked the Rebbe, Rabbiner, what's going to be the end with the Jews? I said to him, in the end, Hitler will no longer be, the Germans will lose, and Klal Yisrael will outlive them, and will survive and revive. So the doctor asked me, "Are you a prophet?" He said it in German, "Sind Prophet? Sie sind Prophet?" So I said, "No, I'm not a prophet. I'm not a son of a prophet, but I'm talking from experience." He said, "Now it's dark outside. It's the middle of the night. You can't tell that there'll be a morning. But nevertheless, if somebody's going to come and tell you that tomorrow the sun will come out and there'll be lights, you'll probably accept it, not because he's a prophet, but because it's based on experience. I mean, it happened over and over again. And probably it's going to happen again. There's no reason to think that tomorrow is going to be different, that this night is different than all the other nights. So I say to you that so also the Jewish people, I mean, we have an experience of thousands of years that and nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us, so why should I think that now it will be any different? I have no doubt that just like it always was, it will be this time too. It's true, he said, that if you would ask me what will be with me, what will be with my family, as individuals, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to answer because I'm not a prophet and I don't know what was decreed in heaven. But if you ask me about the Jewish people in general, I know that the answer is that whatever was will be, and the Eden will outlive the Rishon. So you know that this dimion, this zushtel, this comparison to day and night is about some first pasuk in Yirmiyah, where it says in Yirmiyah Lamed Aleph, Koyom Hashem noisen shemesh laor yoimim, kukois yoreach v'koichovim laor lailo, etc. Im yomushu hachukim ha'ele milafonai. Are these rules going to be removed? Are they going to be changed? Gam zera, if these rules will be removed, Gam zera Yisrael yishbesu miheyois goy lefonai kol hayomim. Yeah, if the rules of night and day will be removed, then the Jews will be removed from the world. So after every night comes a day. You know, after the Churban Bayis Rishon, it was came Torah Shebal Peh, the Anshe Knesset Agdoyle. After the Churban Bayis Sheni, we was zeicher to the Talmud Bavli. After the Spanish Inquisition, I mean, we had the Chachmei Tzfas, and headed by Rabbi Yosef Karo, who authored the Shulchan Aruch, and all the Mekubalim. It all came right after the Spanish Inquisition. The Gzeres Tachtat in Poland brought about a renaissance in Limud Torah in Poland and in all of Europe. After the First World War, there was a tremendous development of yeshivas beyond everything that there was before. And then came the Second World War and the Gewaltige Churban. And we see in the last 80 years that not only did we survive, but we developed in every way, I mean, beyond any imagination. And that's the Ata Balak Umazu Achogeges Sholosh Regolim. So it's not just, and just like Bilam's curses turned into blessings, so also we, with the help of the Rebbeinu Shalom, learned how to turn every curse into a blessing, and make the best out of every negative situation. The Eibush is a hofin we should be zoiche to be as Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meira b'yameinu. Amen. Have a good Shabbos.